Learning different cultures is really what I think about when I think about my time with Tatyana. We're not sure where we first met, except it was a TED event.
And it was a long time ago.
It was a good time ago. I knew that Tatyana was somehow involved in technology. She had a really big brain, that was obvious. And I wasn't really sure what she did. And I wasn't really sure how she got here, because as you can maybe hear through her accent, she is not native to America. She is from, tell me exactly the part that you are from.
Let me ask you, do you know the place that's super famous about few things? One of them caviar, another one rugs. And it is located on the largest lake in the world, and the lake is so big that the name of that lake is a sea. Any hands? It's Azerbaijan. It's a beautiful country.
So she grew up there. So she played chess with Gary, say his last name.
Kasparov.
And she was on his team. Tell me a little about that.
No one knows how it happened, but I became a real good chess player at a very young age, like 5, 6. Though we didn't have chess set at home, and my parents didn't play chess. Mystery. And it seems like, I just was naturally good at chess. And back then, in Soviet Union, if you're good at something, they will pick you up and they will give you all the resources to be successful. And with that, at a very young age, I was playing, good tournaments and got into to become twice USSR chess champion and like 5 times champion of Azerbaijan. And one of the amazing things happened that Gary Kasparov, he's also from Baku, from the capital of Azerbaijan, and we ended up playing in the same team together, and that was fabulous. He was exceptional. It was right before he became like world champion, like a couple of years before that. We were kids, and we all became friends, and of course our parents became friends, and that was a very special time.
Well, as a chess player, that kind of says to most of us, you have a really big brain. So you took that really big brain to the university, and you graduated with a degree
in computer science,
which came in real handy when it came time for you to leave your country. Explain that.
You probably know a little bit about the state of that country back in '89 when there was a war, so we had to escape. And the way we escaped is something that people don't truly understand, the whole path of being refugees. In our case, we became stateless refugees, meaning we didn't have any passport. So went through refugee camps. I don't recommend that experience to anyone. Not pleasant. I ended up in Silicon Valley, and I was pretty good programmer back then. And by accident, through some friends who I immediately found, and she was interviewing for jobs, and she couldn't get a job. And she told the guy, the hiring manager, "I know the gal, she's awesome, you need to meet her." You have to understand, I was like 2 weeks in the United States. I had no idea about resumes, interviews, and no one was able to coach me. I didn't have a car. I slept on the floor, and he was explaining to me what they do, and I was smart enough not to open my mouth. And he asked me any questions. I said, "Oh, everything is awesome." And then he said, "Okay, I'll walk you to our programmer. She'll explain what we do, what challenges we have. You have like 20 minutes, come up with the plan." And I was like, finally, torture has ended, because I didn't understand anything what he was saying. And when they showed everything, I wrote the plan. He called me the next day, "You're hired." And it was at the beginning of the recession. You have to understand, right? I didn't know what recession back then was, but I think it was pure luck, but it did help me to immediately get into the U.S. living type of thing.
And your husband and your daughter were able to
Yeah.
leave the country with you.
Right.
So you started over in a way that it's the American dream story come round, but you also had to work hard to adapt both yourself and your family. Tell me a little bit about what that was like.
I think it's a good time to thank my parents who was smart enough when I was a child to have a private English teacher coming to our house. And it was meant for my brother, who is like a year and a half older. And so he was like 6.5, and I was like 5, just running around. And then suddenly they realized that 5-year-old learned how to speak and read in English for, those few years that we had that private instructor. Helped me to kind of go through my school and college and come here. I never had to take any additional English classes. The challenge still was there, and the way I kind of framed my thinking that I came to the country to live in this country. That's my only home, my only passport. And I completely immersed into everything. So there was nothing in Russian language in my life since that day when I landed here. So I was watching news with a dictionary. I was reading books. I was watching series, and that kind of helped me to not look back. I don't know for good or bad, but that was kind of a cutoff. I'm a new life, and I'm completely in it.
How did you first get involved with TED?
When TED announced this movement, TEDx, I really loved the concept. But you have to understand, I'm a rebel. I'm a troublemaker. That's my nature. I can't do anything about it.
Which is why we became friends, I think.
Yeah, and I do have this critical thinking capability that I always question everything and try things. So I really felt that what I want to do is to build communities. So we have those great ideas from stage, but how can I enable people who like certain ideas to get together, organize, and do something about it? I set it up. I had amazing event, couple of 3. It was like monthly thing. And then I was flagged, obviously.
TED likes to do that if you don't follow the rules.
That I'm not a licensed TEDx person, and we went back and forth on what that could look like. And I insisted on my vision, having community aspect. So with that, they gave me a license for TEDx Bay Area that became very prominent brand. So I hosted a number of very large events with very well-known people flying in, like Rebecca Minkoff. But my angle that also didn't play well with TEDx was always global women entrepreneurs. And I felt it's needed, and that angle is needed, and we host monthly events. And because of me being part of this amazing TEDx movement, I met people like Terry and other ones that became lifelong friends.
It's a time of transition right now in terms of there are so many women who are trying to step into and are stepping into different lives, different things than they thought were possible, especially because of the internet, because there are so many ways to see things differently and learn things differently.
As you obviously understand by now, you're looking at the geek, like G-E-E-K, capital, all capital. So when new things pop up, I don't ignore them. So I immediately get on them, try them, because I always believe that if you don't really do things, you learn by reading or listening. You just don't know really what it is, right? So when ChatGPT, OpenAI, released the very first version of ChatGPT, I started looking and playing with it, and I've realized that, oh my gosh, I lived through personal computing from iPhones, internet, Web 2.0. What I was observing with the very first version of Gen AI, I wrote about it. I said, people don't understand the potential impact. And it's not a technology impact. It's impact on everyone and everything. From you planning vacation, menu, behavioral assistance, health assistance, and everything in between. My immediate thinking was that women will be impacted. There will be losing jobs left and right, and I felt like I'm responsible because I can see the future. So at that time, I started Women in Gen AI, and it's not about geeks getting in the room in programming. It's more about how you can use these tools as a parent, as a wife, as an accountant, marketer, and leader, in everything in between, in your daily life, in your daily jobs. And I feel like if we will not all get on this thing, I know there are a lot of scary things with AI, we need to understand all of that, separate discussion, but the bottom line is, if you immediately are not getting into understanding and actually trying to use those tools for everything you do, within a blink of the eye, you will be out of jobs, opportunities, and way behind because the technology is evolving so fast. Like a few weeks ago, there was a new tool that has been launched that enables AI agents to do all those things for you, right? So you sleep and you can have the whole company of AI people. And then within the next week, literally it's happening as we speak, there was a network of all those AI agents where humans are not allowed. They communicate, they discuss things, they come up with a plan, they share ideas. It's unbelievable. It's happening at the space of profound innovation that we haven't ever experienced before.
Boy, it just scares me spitless. So I need to take some pages from your book and understand it all better. You are headed to New York soon to speak and to be part of something at the UN. Can you explain that? Share that?
Yeah, absolutely. So I was fortunate enough to be a founding member of the initiative of technology arm of UN, which is with us, where, again, I'm fortunate enough to communicate with ministers of technology of all the countries of the world on different ways how technology impacts and will impact lives. But what we did with leadership from organization, we set up this women-focused initiatives. So New York will moving that initiative to the next level with specific goals, initiatives that will help more and more women around the world to stay engaged and be up to speed on all the technologies. And I think now it's very important. If we are here, even me, in Silicon Valley, looking at women and girls who are learning certain things, right? At the global scale, the impact even more dramatic because from my point of view, we teaching things that outdated as we speak. So it's a big kind of problem and awesome task to understand what will be the role of humans and what we should be teaching today so women, girls of the future will be capable of doing things, engaged, and have a future as humans. And I'm super excited in making intentionally 3-day trip to New York to voice my opinion as a woman who is deeply engaged in all the latest and greatest with all those new technologies, and I can see implications.
That's pretty amazing.
Oh, thank you.
Congratulations. You have, I think, 2 granddaughters?
I have 2 granddaughters and 1 grandson. Yay.
What do you hope the future looks like for those grandchildren?
I don't have an answer, because what I'm observing right now, it's fascinating, it's exciting to me being a gig. At the same time, it's unclear what the impact on humanity all of this will have. And my role is to open their eyes on all those tools as we speak in controlled manner. So my 6-year-old built a game, Peppa Pig, that is trying to sleep, and all those animals popping up, making sounds. You need to click, you earn badges. 6-year-old, it's deployed as a website where you can play with all the sounds and UI. And the point that I'm trying to convey to them that there are new things you can try, and you can use those tools to make games, to create tools for yourself. I help them to create animated movies. It's all with AI. So my goal is to help them to train their brain to think in a way that they can communicate with those new tools and technologies that powered by AI. As things progress, I think we'll have to educate educators and educate kids on good, bad, and ugly of all of this. I grew up in a country where a lot of things were prohibited. Cool concept, it never worked. Trust me, we couldn't listen to Voice of America, we all listened to it. We couldn't do that, we all did that. So, because I experienced it, I don't believe in prohibiting. I believe in explaining, controlling, educating, versus because the other thing doesn't work. And I think that's our role. A, we have to learn. B, understand implications. 3, educate educators and kids. And things evolve, so you constantly have to be kind of on the top of things. I think the main angle that I think we'll have to understand, humanity and human skills will be of a huge value. And that potentially will mean that certain jobs will change. You can argue good, bad way, but the role of the physician, for example, right? We'll have to put more intentional efforts on bringing more humanity and understand how jobs will be changing and increased role of humans from that point of view in everything that we do.
So with the increase of technology, humanity and the human touch becomes even more important. And I think that we are getting to kind of I feel we're getting to an imbalance where the technology seems so much more important and takes up so much more of our time than the human part.
I don't agree with you, but that's okay.
Well, there's nothing new there.
I think technology saves tons of time for me. I planned all my trips with all the details for, like in New Zealand, instead of spending, weeks, it took me, a couple of prompts. I built tools for myself, and every day I pop up apps that would have taken 50, 100 grand in, weeks or months of development. So in my case, everything that I do, and I use it for everything, it saves time, not takes time. Because I'm kind of from forefront, and I always see, 5, 6, 8 years out in everything that I've been doing. And I feel it's my responsibility to at least express my opinion on what's happening and how we should be paying attention to what's happening. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Excited for the day.